So it's been a month since we have scanned at Weston Farm. We've got all the data on the system, and between Richard, Matt and myself, we've looked at what that data is going to tell us. And as we've said before, it's not going to change the outcome of what scanning was. We were disappointed that we didn't have a few more lambs scanned. However, what this data is giving us is some things to look at. Richard, how are you feeling now a month on from scanning?
Tired. Yeah, we've been busy, but yeah, the data that we're about to see gave us some answers, and and they were to be expected a little bit, those answers, but I probably didn't realise the percentages of the ages of the sheep and that. So yeah, it's quite interesting to see, wasn't it?
Yeah. So Matt, do you want to talk us through what you've done?
You've scanned the sheep, put it into AgriWeb, and we've pulled it out into some nice graphs. So what we've done is looked at the age profile of the flock, how many animals we got in each age profile, where we are, which is handy to know to start with, so we understand what's going on. So we know there's a lot of ewe lambs were scanned, and we know that some of them are not in lamb, and we've took those out of some of the data. That's the percentage breakdown of the flock, so we know what percentage it is. So we got quite a high percentage of ewe lambs retained, which is good, but we can see the age, as the age profile drops off, we can see the percentages change, which is quite understandable. But yes,
and the reason behind that as well, obviously, we've took on more land the summer before, so we started building our flock, and now we've built our flock quite dramatically, and we've got a lot of young sheep in the flock. So if they were all even, like all at 15% or whatever, then it would be make more sense, wasn't it? So yeah, it's just the whole growth of the flock.
Yeah.
Which generally would be a smaller lamb and back, basically, wouldn't it? So.
Yeah, they're not mature ewes at that. So, we now have data to suggest they're not mature until they're 4.
So the scanning percentages, we know what they are. So we've got 4.5% barren, 51.4% were singles, 40% twins, and a 3.5% triplet rate. And we can compare that to previous years, because Richard's got all his little bits of paper from the scanning man, and Nerys has nicely put them into graphs so we can see where they are. And we can see that this year the singles have increased. Barren rate's gone up by a little bit compared to the last 2 years, but the biggest thing is the singles have increased, triplets have decreased, which has also made the twins slightly decrease.
Got a big proportion in that blue. I think the good bit that's down there, Richard, is your triplets. We don't want a lot of triplets.
Yeah, no. To be fair, like the barren is nice. Obviously could always be lower, but because it was such a short, we only put the rams in for 2 cycles, wasn't it? So, and previously we used to run on rams, so there'd be ones that had lamb later last year that would have been knocked out in that barren rate, probably just because they lamb late last year. So you kind of had to stop the bus on that sometime. We could have got them in lamb this year, but then and got rid of them. That would have been an option. But they usually generally end up in the flock, and they just end up staying another year. So that was that. Triplets at 4%, brilliant. I don't want a lot of triplets. Fantastic. Just got too many singles.
So do you want to talk us through what you've done with your barren ewes? How many of them have gone?
Yeah, gone. Sold them. Got rid of them. Just took them to Sedgemoor Market.
You got some good prices.
The best of them were around just shy of 150, I think it was. So it was good. A few on the lorry actually the other day, and they come back really well. I had some at 160, just out of interest. I just a few rams and bits and odds and sods that I didn't think would make that much in market, but they made more on the lorry, so that was quite an interesting one.
But it's Ramadan at the moment, it is, so that's probably helping the price a little bit.
Yeah. So we went just before the festival, but yeah, that's obviously always going to help trade at the moment.
I mean, I'm very much textbook farmer. So if she's barren, she's not going to do anything for you this year. She's got to go. Matt, how strict were you when you were running diddling?
I gave the shearings a second go, because I didn't top them as ewe lambs, so I gave the shearlings a second go, but anything else went. You know,
Interestingly, I knew one sheep out of all my sheep, and she was barren as it. I bought her barren in the ewe lambs, and then she was then barren again last year, and I said, "Oh, she's a tiddler, I'll give her another chance." And then she was barren this year. So that's
Tell me she's gone.
she's gone now.
She's gone now.
Yeah, but like 3 times,
you're kind to your girls. 3 chances.
Well, it was only because we were trying to up the shedding flock, and it was just like I had 8 or 10 empty shedders, and 9 of them lambed, apart from there's one. She's fat as hell, and the other 9 lambed, but they were really late. And then I reckon if I'd recorded them, I reckon they would have gone this year in the empties, because they would have. I reckon it's a bit of a trend, isn't it? They were lambing out in May, and I think I had 1 lamb in July. I think I sent you a picture. So it was.
Very quickly to talk about the reduced tupping, because when you had your scanning day, part of me thought, oh God, is it because we took the tups out sooner? But I would say, based on the barren rate having not changed significantly, I don't think that's relevant. What do you think?
No, 100%. I don't think that's relevant at all. You might have had 10 more in lamb, probably, that because they lamb late last year. But like, if you've got rid of them now, then you won't have them next year, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of you got to stop the bus on that. And then my biggest concern was, obviously we did 2 cycles, and out of all those sheep, there was only 50 second cycle ewes.
Yeah.
So that was probably my biggest concern, is either they've gone on really quick and they were in good fiddle and they're going to be really big scanning percentage or something, or they're empty. That was kind of one of the others. But I was like, no, they must have gone on. And yeah, they were in good fiddle and everything else. But yeah, we just didn't have that scanning. But also we know that the younger sheep are in the flock. So.
Yeah, we'll get onto that now, because Matt's got a few slides. But I just wanted to sort of ask that question about tupping, because yeah, it was on my mind. I'll put it that way.
I know someone said to me, why would you risk it? Like I said another year, that I said, oh, only 50 went on after 17 days, so may as well just pull the rams out after 1 cycle and be done with it. And someone just goes, but why would you risk that? And I'm like, yeah, why would I risk that? But at the same time, I'm like, wouldn't that be so good if you just lamb 17 days? But I always think the first cycle the lambs go on so much better than the second cycles. And whether that's because they always get all the best grass all the way through, because they're always in front and they're kind of the priority, I don't know. But you never catch them up. It's always the second cycle sheep that will be the last lot of lambs off the farm usually.
Oh, look at that this year. But yeah, so let's move on to the scanning data. Matt, do you want to talk us through that?
So now we've got the scanning percentage by the year of age. So we can see the ewe lambs, the 2025 born ones, did 113%. We know there's no barreners in there because we stripped all those out. So we know that figure, you could say skew whiffed slightly because we've got no barreners in there, but we just wanted to know what the ones have done in lamb. Last year's ewe lambs, which are now shearlings, done 122% or just under 123%, and we can see they're the ones that are holding us back.
So Richard, what do you think of that? Because I know in one of the videos you've said it might be some of the younger ewes dragging it down.
I've looked at this several times, but for some reason tonight I feel so much better for seeing it. I don't know why that is. Yeah, it just shows that those Tudors are really, those 24 that crop are just holding us right down there. How we bring that up, I think, well, I've mentioned maybe we'll look after them a lot better, like really spoil them, which I generally try and do. But last year it was just one of those years where they probably didn't get enough good that they needed, so that might not have helped us.
Also goes back to making the decisions on weaning and managing them ewe lambs a bit better, so we know they're growing on, so they're rested,
Yeah.
putting their condition back on. So as well as
Yeah.
looking them after as shearlings, actually they're not adults until 3 years old.
Yeah.
So
Yes, we really, yeah, I shouldn't, like, I was thinking, right, all my ewe lambs this year, we will look at how they're performing, how they're doing. If we had to wean them at 8 or 10 weeks, that might help. Maybe even have a creep feeder, put them on a better rotation of grass, because there's a big number in that, you know, there's a couple hundred there in lamb. You know, that's a nice rotational group. And yeah, just really give them the cream, really, and they should have the best grass on the farm, shouldn't they? So,
But then Matt, look, you see, he goes up to like mid 140s for last year's shearlings, and then we're up at the 160s, 170s, which is where we want the rest of the flock to be. I think it just goes to show the impact of that dry summer and maybe the rearing phase on the younger sheep. And if it's any consolation, you are most certainly not the only one I'm seeing this trend with. I don't know about you, Matt, but I've definitely seen a difference
a
in,
lot of farms.
yeah, this year especially. I've had people saying I'm really disappointed in my gimmers or my shearlings or whatever people decide to call them, wherever they are in the country. And you look back and it's, you know, they're young ewes, they're vulnerable, they're still growing. So if that's any consolation to you or anyone watching, we are seeing that across systems and across the country.
you'd have to ignore the ewe lambs, but say you went,
Yeah.
yeah, I did do the sums with the ewe lambs in. I think it was with the barren ewe lambs in as well. Overall, I think it was 131, which was, with all those empty ewe lambs, wasn't as bad as I thought. Really. It was just because someone else showed me their scanning card and they scanned at 170%, and their ewe lambs scanned in as well. And then they did the ewe lambs, I had them in, and they had 133%. So then I added my ewe lambs in, and actually I had a lot lower percentage of the ewes. And then it was like, oh, that doesn't sound so bad. I'm only 2% behind.
What's this graph
so
telling
here
us, Matt?
we got the barren ewes, so I've stripped out all the barren ewes. Again, we've got back the ewe lambs, but we can see again the highest percentage of the barrenners are coming from that shearling and second shear. That again has got to be related to difficult year.
Difficult year on young ewes.
You know, we're lambing ewe lambs at 12 months. A lot of people would lamb ewe lambs at like 13 months, but then to bring that back is always a difficulty then, isn't it? They're lambing down at 12 months, so that bit's going fine. But yeah, it's this next section we've got to really, and I'm seeing this the same in the cows. I know we don't mention cows in here, do we, Nerys? But the we've seen it in the cows as well. With the cabinet too. Your biggest challenge for those, you've gained 12 months obviously, but the biggest challenge is the cabinet free. It's opened my eyes with this extra data that, like, this new one with the barons in, I gathered they were younger sheep, but I didn't realize it was quite so dramatic, like 40 out of the 56 or whatever it was.
So would we know, so these are this year's shearlings, how many of those did and didn't lamb last year? Do we know? Because you do keep those now for the last 3 years. There's potentially a proportion of those 15 that didn't rear a lamb last year.
Could be some of those, more than likely not in lamb. I won't know though, because
no, but we'll know this time next year. Any shearlings that are barren now, we will know how they scanned this year, won't we?
Yeah, because they're all on the system.
Yeah.
Data driven now.
Well, the other thing I'm hoping we can do is when we go through them at 8 weeks, we'll find all the dries, anything that's not rearing a lamb, that lamb down, but then isn't rearing a lamb, so we can understand the year after that they got pregnant, but they actually didn't rear one.
Yeah, so you could have the didn't get pregnant and reared, pregnant and didn't rear. So we'll have 3 different bits to look at. Just as well you've got into the CID, Richard, because it is interesting.
When we go through them, I usually go through any dries and I usually kill the dries out. Whereas last year was probably the first year I was a bit slack and didn't, because we were wanting the numbers again, didn't we? We took any old ones out, but we didn't bother with pulling the younger dry ones out.
So that would be an interest if we knew who they were.
Yeah.
The weights of the animals now. So when they were weighed, when Richard was putting them on the system. But as we can see now, we can see as the sheep, the heavier sheep, I know there isn't that many of them at 1.3%, but the heavier the sheep, getting up into the 70%, 80, the 70, 80 kilos, they have actually scanned better. Once they've got too heavy, they've crashed back down again. But it is interesting to see as the sheep have got slightly bigger, they have scanned better.
Don't want 85 kilo ewes though.
No, there's not many of them, those there for that 200.
There's not many of them, but what I think will happen is we get the scanning of the younger ones better, we'll see that curve move sideways slightly.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, so as we get them more into the 60s, they'll be going up to the 70s and so on. What I've seen on other farms is we've been able to shift it that way. That curve, that bell curve is tightened up and moved slightly.
Yeah. But yeah, if we can look after them and they can do one lamb as a ewe lamb and then do 1.5 lambs as a shearling, then we're gaining some pace there. And if we can keep that sheep going, and then we gradually, that's our main. I think to bring this percentage up, we've just got to really look after those ewe lambs, haven't we?
Ewe lambs and as a shearling or a second crop ewe.
Yeah, that's the other thing. We never run them out on their own, but maybe that should be a thing that needs doing.
These are our body condition scores in August, so we can see where the nice spread is. The August thing, so we can see that 93 animals. We didn't condition score them all. That's the problem with this graph, but what we did condition score. But then we've moved it on, and we can see that the condition scores, the majority of the big huge number of them are in the 3, 3.5, 4s. 4.5 got 99 sheep. That's your 4.5. So the whole flock condition score has moved on quite a bit.
Yeah, I was like, when we condition scored them at scanning, Richard, I was really pleased with how fit they were.
Yeah, no, I think we got them there. We just probably was too late at it, maybe. They seemed to be good when they went around, but I'm thinking probably need to build that condition or hold that condition on them better. Try and when you've got a dry sheep and a dry year, and then you're trying to prioritize everything, it's quite difficult to treat everything good or really, really well to add condition. So if we can hold that condition better, and with condition on the ewes like they are, we should be set up hopefully to get into a bit of a trend. I think sometimes when you just overstock a little bit, or we did a lot of reseeds last year, 250 acres or something we put into reseeds. Well, that's a lot to come out of the grazing profile, especially when you're on a dry year when you haven't got the grass. So hopefully this year, with half that amount of acreage going into reseeding and similar number of ewes, then we should be in a good place.
So here's your body condition scores at scanning. You can see we had 38% of the flock were at your 4, and they give you 152%. You can see once we got above a 3.5, we gained 10% on the scanning percentage, which we've got basically a quarter, 40% of the flock in those two brackets.
These at 2 and 2.5, I haven't put my hand on them because I remember the ones we did, Richard. I think there was only literally single numbers at 2.5. So are they from the groups that are barren or the thins that you condition scored, Richard?
Yeah, so the barrenness is what drops these figures down massively.
So we are seeing an impact of condition score. So out of the barreners, that's where the 2s and 2.5s were.
Yeah.
You did say though, Richard, didn't you, that there wasn't many of the Baroners that you looked at them and thought, why aren't you in lamb, without putting words in your mouth?
Yeah, no, that's right. And, well, we obviously had that thing group anyway, and there was like 20 in there, which
And
was probably
if
massive.
If we transfer over to this, it kind of explains it a bit more where the changes are happening. So we can see the body condition score in August. So we've only got a snapshot because we didn't body condition score the whole flock in August. Then we got to see what on the top line. We can see the body condition scores there were when Nerys and Richard re-body condition score them at scanning, and we can see how the scanning percentages are shifted. We can see roughly how many numbers in the brackets. It tells me how many animals are in it. So that first animal there was condition score 1 when Nerys condition scored it in August. It got to a 2 now, and it's barren. No major shock there, but we can see how the pattern as they're going through. We've got a very small snapshot because we've only got 411 sheep that we've got both body condition scores for. But as you can see, the effects go through.
So look at these. Yeah, that is interesting, isn't it? Just showing that push when they're nearer this quarter than this quarter.
Yeah,
we do see an increase.
It was 2.5s there that then went up to 4s, and they scanned at 190. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
11 of them. Yeah.
So they have done really well, and that would be from a real good flush of grass or summer to bring that body condition up.
So they're capable of doing it. We could do with overlaying the age profile on it and bits and pieces to understand what's going on a bit more. But if you're looking up here, 2.5 going up to a 4, they're the ones that have done the biggest jump. And condition and give you the results.
We got another year. This will be a really interesting, because obviously we're going to hopefully get them through to weaning a lot better condition, and then it'll be interesting to when body condition score them to then get them to this scanning result next year. That'll be a really interesting graph, won't it? And we'll just have to make, this year was a tricky year. We always knew it was going to be, when one with the weather, but also with our data and our technology that we were running with at the time. We knew it was always going to time with us. Like now, we're quite on it, aren't we? So everything's on the system, so we can condition score them quite quickly now. And I'm definitely seeing the benefits of condition scoring. Did I just say that in front of there? Oh my God.
I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna put it on replay. No, that's really interesting data. Well, I just wanted this to highlight the fact that yes, overall, we were disappointed at the scan, but this improvement in the ewe lambs. So we've got 4 years worth of scanning data now, and this green one is the overall percentage scan, and then the red is the number of barren. So back in 2023, you had 60% of your lambs were barren. This year, it's down to 38%. And our scanning overall has gone from 43% up to 70%. So I think we need to, we've highlighted, yes, we need to look at the sort of them going into their second lambing. But I just think we wanted to talk about that in terms of a really positive start to that young flock.
No, I looked after them really well, I'd have said. And it was always a nerve that, like, I didn't know if the shedding ewe lambs would actually get in lamb at that percentage. Like, I was a bit nervous because last year we had a good percentage, but I did have quite a few first crossed ewe lambs in with them, whereas these were all like pure shedding lambs. So I was quite surprised that we got that percentage of them. I'd say that's a massive start, and I'm really chuffed. With you. There was probably 10% I shouldn't have put to ram. I'm not going to lie. I was a naughty boy.
What was it about them that meant you didn't really think they should go? Was it weight?
They weren't at weight.
Okay.
They weren't at 60% of their body, like their mature body weight. So yeah, they were lighter lambs. They were smaller lambs. So we're talking 30-ish lambs. We shouldn't have probably put the ram, which would have then, luckily they didn't go to ram, which then we would have actually had 80%. So that just shows for another year. Like this year, we retained pretty much every ewe lamb from the shedded flock. So another year forward again, hopefully we'll be able to pick out maybe 100 odd bottom end ewe lambs that we get rid of, and move them on. So yeah, they'll as we go forward, I hopefully will increase that. If we could get up to 80% on those, and then increase the 2 disc and the 4 disc up, then I think we'll be in a good place. But you know, I know now where I've got to put my efforts, but I probably knew that before, but I probably didn't have. And I expect there's a lot of farmers out there that probably think, oh, we probably ought to put them on a bit better. But with the data they're now proving, I can see, yeah, I better pull my finger out. Now I've got no excuses for next year because I know which groups I have to look after most.
It would be so easy to sort of say the older ewes in this flock are the previous breeds at the farm. So you've got your mules, your Suffolk crosses, some Romneys as well. And then the younger proportion are your shedders. But I don't think you could say it's a breed effect because you've got the age effect as well. So some could interpret that and go, oh, you'd have been better off sticking with the other breeds. You're comparing apples and lemons, aren't you, really? So I think once we get your shedders or the new breed, it doesn't matter what breed they are, the fact that they're different but they're young to the same age and they're not performing, then that is a comparison. But at the moment, I don't think you compare older ewes that have been on the farm. The chances are they're on that farm because they have been productive as well. You know, they're there because they're good sheep.
Also going forwards from those sheep, the whole reason we're going down this kind of route is to close the flock. So hopefully we'll have less disease pressure, etc. But also, I don't think you can beat having a sheep that was born on your own farm. It kind of answers better to your land. So hopefully, by closing the flock, we'll be able to produce our own new lambs. We'll have control of that, but also we'll have control of the data that we've got now is to breed the best from the best of the sheep. And gradually, you know, we're gonna take a few years to get where we probably want to be, but with your help and everything else, I think we'll get there no problem. And I think that'll speed it up. I think I'm starting to see more now that the data and the body condition scoring is going to be a real benefit, which puts me into a bit more of a what's the word, better mood to tag these lambs and put the effort in early as well.
I think it's just really hard when you don't have an area to focus. You just think, my scan's down. How do I, what do I do about this? Do I just wait for next year and hope it's better?
Yeah.
I mean, if we'd have looked and thought, well, we can't really see anything, then we just have to hope that next year was better. But I just think this has given us so much information on where to focus.
I think the biggest thing as well, Nerys, is the 3 or 4 days before. So we had scanning, and then we had 4 days before I had that data. My head was going, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? Why has it done that? What's the matter? What's going on? And we then, luckily, within 4 days, had this data that I was like, oh, well, that's got that, and that's got that, and that's got that. So that's easy. But I know other people have had worse scannings this year than myself, and they have no idea where to look, or because they're just like, oh, it's just one of those years, I suppose, and maybe it is one of those years, but sometimes a little bit of like, oh well, that's why,
Yeah, or just a feeling that you can do something, isn't it? It's just that feeling of complete, this is all out of my control, when actually you can take elements of this back into your control, and we can look at it.
We're focusing. Well, I'm saying, right, we're going to focus on the lambs and the cheerlings, but I guess you recommend that as well. I'm not just, So I think that's where, so we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. This isn't you saying this is what you're gonna do. You've shown me the data, and I've said, right, this is what you got to do, and you're like, yeah, this
We've
is
all
always
come to the
gonna be-
same conclusion in our
Yeah.
in you know, looking at the data, but we've all come to the same conclusion, which I think is always a good place to be, because then I'm not just sat there going, well, why do I think we need to do this when you think this and Matt
Yeah.
thinks something else, and we're all going in complete different direction.
Yeah.
So I think the focus this year is just going to be the ewe lambs, looking at those. And so our next visit, where I think we're all coming down, will be around the 8 weeks post lambing. So it sounds like we've got a plan. Whatever videos you can get during
we have a
lambing,
plan, yeah.
we have a plan. And we didn't say who was executing it. I said we have a plan. Thank you very much for your time, Matt. That was really interesting data analysis. So thank you for extracting that, and thank you, Richard, for inputting it. So hopefully that's been an interesting discussion.